The first stage, like Dylan said, definitely wanted to use that stage as a bit of a statement to show what I'm capable of, and what I've been doing is really what I've been doing in the weekly races on SRC. So that's, yeah, I think once we started and we must have got to around 8%, and I just thought, yeah, I felt like I was on for a good day. Like I knew I had the legs when we got to around that stage, because I felt fully in control and I was feeling really good, and I was able to, I think once I sort of realised that the other girls were starting to hurt quite a bit and I was still feeling good, and I was able to look for Dylan.
Hello and welcome to episode 86 of the Virtual Velo Podcast, the show that bridges the gap between athlete and avatar, keeping it real in the world of cycling esports. Well, with me, my co-host Chris Schwenker, we are very, very fortunate today, because we were fortunate to host Kate's first interview following her World Championship win last year, when she said she had something to prove after being annulled in the Zwift World Series race shortly before boarding the plane for Abu Dhabi, where she won her first world title in 2024. Then she went on to redeem herself by taking some hotly contested Queen of the Mountains and finishing on the podium of the New Zealand road race behind Niamh Fisher-Black, who went on to have a stellar showing at the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, and now again in dominant fashion in Abu Dhabi only a few short days ago, 2025 world champion. Joining Kate is her partner Dylan Kennett, with rainbow jerseys of several sizes between the pair hanging in the wardrobe at the McCarthy Kennett house. And thankfully, you're going to be able to keep your house, Chris, after betting it on Kate to win during our last episode.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, my homelessness was never hanging in the balance, thanks to our guests. Yeah, and there's nothing more for Kate to prove after this World Championship for Team McCarthy and Team Kennett.
Well, welcome both of you, Kate and Dylan, to the Virtual Velo Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to talk to you guys, and I guess as close to the person as possible.
Well, I can't keep the smile off my face, and Kate, you have been smiling ever since you came on to the video here. So can I just say, before we sort of talk about that World Championships, Kate, you sent me probably the best timed message I received last weekend over the World Championships, and I nearly laughed on air on the Sunday Race Club when I received it. And it said to me, not racing Sunday Race Club today, Mika and I are having a very large breakfast and going sightseeing. How were the sights of Abu Dhabi, Kate?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, we had a good afternoon out and about and had a good lunch as well. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It was the least, I was not expecting that particular type of email from the world champion, but it really made me smile. Thank you so much. Talking about the World Championships, Kate, how was the experience in Abu Dhabi this year?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah. I was definitely a lot less nervous this year and knew what to expect and that sort of thing. It was brilliant. We knew where we were supposed to be and when we were supposed to be, wherever, and all that stuff. So yeah, no, it was great. Yeah.
So is there anything that stood out to you this time that didn't last time, or anything that was different second time around?
Not hugely. No, everything was sort of, very well organised. We, always, like I said before, we knew where we were supposed to be and what time, and no, it was all organised really, really well. I think nothing hugely different from last year, different arena, but other than that, no, it was great.
Besides being known as Kate McCarthy's partner, Dylan, I say that jokingly, of course. What do they say? Behind every great woman is a man trying to keep up. And I have a feeling that you're trying to do that a lot these days. But many of our listeners will know a lot about Kate, but not a lot about you. So what is your day job? And while you're giving us that background, can you share your cycling career highlights so people listening know that we're speaking to someone who knows his way around an international velodrome and peloton?
These days, I'm actually a freight train driver. Yeah, I've gone from being a professional cyclist sitting on my bum all day to being a train driver sitting on my bum all day. Difference is you get fat driving trains. Yeah, so I used to be professional in the New Zealand track cycling team. So it's always a funny one when people ask you what you used to do, and you feel a bit tentative to say you're a pro because immediately people think Tour de France. So you kind of add the extra bit on the velodrome. Yes, I got paid. No, it was not as much as Tour de France riders. I'd almost say I have earned in the same amount of time when I was riding the same amount of money on SRC racing in the fat men's grades, starting in the lower grades and working my way through. But so I obviously followed Kate into doing that stuff, and thankfully I've lost a bit of weight doing that. But I had a bit of a break recently and put a bit of it back on. But yeah, basically I used to be in the New Zealand team pursuit team. There'd be 4 of yous doing a 4-kilometre standing start, and it takes just under 4 minutes if you're going good. Used to be slower, but the time's getting faster and faster. I think now it's getting around the low 3:40s. But I was lucky enough to win the World Championships in 2015, so it was a while ago now. I've got a medal of every colour in that event, given me, I think, the knowledge in that to help Kate on her journey, I guess, starting to go around the world again with her, which is pretty cool. So,
well, Kate, you did touch on previously your story about how you and Dylan met when you were with us last time. And if anybody wants to hear more about that, Chris also wrote your backstory for the Escape Collective piece on you as well. So that is out there as well. I do just love that story about how you two met on a dating app of all places in 2017. Now, Dylan, you had obviously just done the world title in the team pursuit in 2015 and then the Olympics in 2016. So it's all very, very similar sort of time frame. Kate, I am correct, aren't I? But for our listeners who didn't listen to the episode last year, you didn't know much about cycling at that particular point in time when you two first met, did you?
No, I knew very little at the time, and I think it took Dylan about a year, maybe a year and a half to get me to really get out on the bike with him. So yeah.
What was it that lit that spark in you then around cycling? What was it about? What was it, or was it anything to do with Dylan's lifestyle as an elite cyclist that sort of fanned the flames, or because he was still competing, or what was it that lit that spark in you around cycling?
I think obviously Dylan and what he was doing and the way he went about his days and just what he could do, it was always just so impressive to me. And then, when he got me out riding and he said I remember him telling me he thought I had a little bit of gas there, and that sort of made me go, okay, let's see what we can do. And yeah, here we are.
It's pretty funny, Dylan. I want to just say, I have you go back to the day that you realized that you created a monster, that you serendipitously found this elite cyclist through a dating app. The whole thing is like such an incredible story. But what was the moment that clicked for you? Maybe Kate is a world-class athlete.
Oh, I noticed, she started coming out for rides with me. I think Kate's left out the part where she's a bit of a fitness freak in terms of always going for long runs that I thought was insane. And then, so she had a bike that was my size bike, so way too big for her. And so we managed to get her out with me. And I noticed, of course, you go out. Here in New Zealand, the big thing is sprinting to the next letterbox or mailbox or power pole or something. So I'd say to her, I'll race you to that mailbox top of that hill, the letterbox. And I noticed, when people new to the sport, they're a bit funny when they get out of the saddle. So she stayed in the saddle, and holy heck, I got a power meter and big numbers following her. And of course, I couldn't let her have it, so I beat her still. But I remember thinking that took a bit more than I was thinking it was going to. And it might have been the same ride actually. I'd send her off to go. There's a lollipop loop I used to do, and it was 1 hour from home. It would take, and about 20 minutes it takes to get to the actual loop. And I said to Kate, you go that way. Take it easy. I'll go this way. And because she'd done one of her long runs the day before as well. So I said, look, you just take it easy that way and I'll ride my normal endurance zone, going right-handed around this loop. We go separate ways and I'm coming along. I see this figure in the distance. I'm like, well, there's no way that's Kate, because that's way too far around, especially after I gave her instructions to go easy. But and sure enough, she gets closer. I see it's her, and then you can see her face is red and she's dripping with sweat. And I said, did you ride easy, did you? And then she's like, and she's puffing away. But it was pretty remarkable. If you saw the bike, you'd be like amazed at how fast she got around that loop, because it's pretty hilly as well. So not super hilly, but there are some decent wee pinches that way. So so I thought she's definitely got some talent. And I think probably the best thing was when we got our first smart trainer. I'd never even heard of them. We had a pretty rough winter, and Kate got on, and I do my training and she'd do it after me, loving it, So, a bit of luck to get her into it, and she absolutely loved it, being the fitness kind of freak that she was. So they'll just stem from that, really.
It's a really an amazing story. So I have to ask you, because I'm sure that everyone's listening wants to know the answer. So who wins the races to the power poles now?
Well, Kate, if she takes it easy on me, I can still beat her. But if she went really hard, I'd be gone. I'd be looking a little dot distance. So luckily she just went an agreement before we, whatever you call it with a lady, but
take it easy on us so that we can maintain our dignity. That's happened to me quite a few times.
Well, Kate, last time we spoke, you were still working, you were working in law enforcement as a law enforcement officer, and you were telling us about the level of support you had from them at the last World Championships. So is that still your day job?
Yes, yep, it is. I'm very lucky in that I got the last 3 months off to train for this World Championship, so I'm still in time off at the moment. Yeah, got some decisions to make as to what I'm doing when I get back, but yeah, no, I was very lucky in the support that I've gotten from them and the ability to take the time off when needed. So, yeah.
I love the fact that both yourself and Bridget Kittle both work in law enforcement in New Zealand, the two female representatives of New Zealand at the Esports World Championships. Fabulous. Love those little bits and pieces. Anyway, Kate, it must be, like you say, some decisions to make and some choices to do, but it must be incredibly difficult to juggle. I guess that's where the wider support team comes in as well. You know, not just Dylan, who we've got here on the Virtual Velo podcast with us, but we also see a crowd of people in the room some Sundays. And during that My Woosh Championships, there were also decorative jerseys being changed by the support crew in the background as well. But, I mean, joking aside, that support crew must be absolutely crucial to you.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. My whole family's been right into it. And I think it's made the difference some weeks, especially when I'm not having my best day out there on the bike. And the fact that my dad turns up every Sunday, and obviously Dylan's there coaching me along, and mum often turns up, and it's brilliant. And especially during the Irish Championships, I think up the Mount Fuji stage I had, what was there, almost 9 of us, 7, 8, 9 of us. I'm not sure how many were in my living room, our very tiny living room. They were all in there cheering me along, and it was brilliant. It definitely makes the difference on how I'm feeling on the day. Yeah.
Are there any specific things you could point to that maybe give you a competitive edge that your team around you provide?
I don't know. I think obviously I'm very lucky that Dylan has that racing knowledge and things. But I also think, they all turn up, and I don't want to disappoint them. So that probably also motivates me as well. Like, you don't want them to all spend the time and energy coming around, and you just want to give your best performance for them as well. So I think that definitely helps.
Someone said to me when they heard that you both were coming on the podcast that Kate is great, but Dylan is the mastermind. So I want to find out what the mastermind does to make you so great. So to be a little bit more specific, Dylan, what are the key factors in Kate's success as far as training, racing, strategy that you as her coach and biggest fan are able to make a difference with for her?
Yeah, I feel like my knowledge levels are pretty good. However, I think it's like Kate also makes my training and the plans look pretty good too. I joked with Kate's teammates, the A-Block teammates the other day when I was over there, that I'm sure that even if I get it wrong, she'll probably still be able to find a way to pull it off, or at least make me look a bit better. But for the racing, sit next to her and pick spots where she should be looking to attack and where to save energy. Because I think why we work so well during the races as a good team is because my thing with sprinting at the end of races and not doing these big brutal attacks. And I think to myself, what would I not want to happen next? Like, for me to win, what's the worst thing that could happen next? Kind of started from there. But then when you're racing against these other top girls who, you get rid of the likes of myself, the sprinters, and you got these other top, what we call diesel engines as well. You need to be really on your game with your technical side of things in the racing, and when you're putting the power down, when you're saving energy, and like timing your fueling, like when you're eating and drinking and that. And I feel as though having someone next to you that isn't tired and knows what they're doing. I mean, you guys have both ridden on the online platforms. There's a lot to look out for. You're looking at your avatar compared to the other avatars. You're looking at the watts per kilo, especially on the side, and there's so many people, and so 2 sets of eyes makes that a lot easier. Yeah, and then sometimes even I remember one of my favorite, it's going to sound funny, but because I get on the call every week with the A-Block girls, every monthly final, I should say, and I was on every day with them during the Irish Championships, and one of my favorite moments was when the A-Block girls are spread out across the bunch. I can only see what Kate can see, so she's at the front of the bunch. I can only see the first 10 riders, and I think it was Mika was towards the back of the group. She noticed someone attacking, so you hear Mika and she's like, go, go, go. And then, yes. And then, so now we're all saying go, go, go. And it's stuff like that that's really cool. What you think is such a small thing, but that could have saved 2-3 minutes of chasing, So, it's great when you got lots of eyes on the screen. And then when it comes to the training side of things and that, Kate's really She just wants to go hard every day. And the hardest thing for me has been trying to rein her back. No, have a rest day. You've done this. This is the plan. I think Kate won't mind me saying this, but when she first started, there literally were the waterworks and tears would come up from her because she really felt like she was losing fitness or what have you in those rest days. And then she'd have a rest day, get back on, and all of a sudden, wow, I feel like Superman. We had a couple of, or probably 3 weeks cycling that same pattern. But yeah, I think that's one of the most important things in training. And I think you hear all the old gurus saying, have your rest, you need your rest. So especially, I don't think people, even the riders themselves, don't acknowledge how hard the SRCs are. They are brutal slogfest. Definitely need recovering from, depending on your goals. Like for the Warriors Championships, we keep pushing a bit on the Monday and the Tuesday because you had to do that for the championships, but then we would have easy Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing to get over that. And then you'd be lining up an SRC again on the Sunday. So even though the likes of, I guess people say Kate and Jason are absolute machines, they still are flesh and blood that need to recover. So I think probably that's the best thing for Kate that I bring is getting her to relax and take those recoveries. And otherwise, like I said, if you leave her to her own devices, you'll come out, she's doing some crazy session that I have to shut down almost sometimes immediately. Her work ethic's probably your strongest point, but it can be a negative if you let her run free with it.
Yeah, I hear that, the motivation, which of course top level athletes have. And we also know that Kate obviously has a tremendous amount of pure athletic talent. We also know that she's extremely mentally strong. What did you say is the key physical trait, mental trait that Kate has that makes her so great? And how do you use that as somebody looking from the outside to get the most out of her potential?
Easily not even close to her ability to be able to just go and go again. I've never seen anything like it. Well, actually, closest thing I've seen to it is probably, I don't know if you heard of Cameron Meyer on the velodrome in the points race. Unbelievable. Like honestly, no exaggerations here, but it is honestly like he's got a motor in his bike. It's insane. Like he just goes and goes and goes, and then he goes up top of the banking, has, I don't know, 10 seconds rest, goes again, and it's just it's mental to watch. And that's kind of, I'd say Kate's probably close. Well, that's probably her same strength. It's being able to just go and go and go again, even when she's not feeling good. I was joking with a couple of the riders over in Abu Dhabi about this, how I'll tell her to do an attack, so she'll do an attack. Hasn't quite split on the other riders. So I ask her to go easy, then go again. And on a bad day, sometimes she argues, like, no, I can't. And then I just give her a countdown, 3, 2, and she just goes again. I think that's Kate's most incredible ability, is to be able to do that. And sometimes that Tal Morib that the women do, they go up that 2-minute climb at the finish, super steep. Sometimes I'll get Kate to do an attack on the flat before that hill, because I know that she'll just be able to do almost the same effort after that, like a big attack on the flat, splits the bunch up, and everyone's in oxygen debt, and then somehow she can just keep going on the hill. Yeah, it's just remarkable how she's able to do that. So I'd say that's her number one thing, is being able to just. I assume that the other girls would agree with that one too, that she can just keep going and going and going. And you look at Jason and Vink, they're very similar. It's just incredible how they can just go and go. And I think that's the sport. It's and I think SRC is so brutal as well. They've introduced some easier courses, but I think certainly for SRC, you just have to be able to do that. Yeah, I think World Champ's slightly different in the sense that I think the courses aren't quite as hard, although Sprinter's Paradise didn't really look like a Sprinter's Paradise out there. But yeah, I think SRC in particular, that's the kind of qualities that these nasty pieces of work that design the courses have created, these beasts that can just. So no, it's phenomenal how she's able to do that, because probably everyone listening has done intervals in that before, and it's mental looking at these numbers that they can just keep doing.
Yeah, so you're obviously very hands-on with the way that you're supporting Kate during these races. Was that something that you did during the final in Abu Dhabi? Like, I was watching on the screen, and I kind of know that you're there to support her, and I know you're the backstory there. Were you positioned where you were able to give Kate cues? Like, and Kate, were you able to use that to your advantage during the race?
Yeah, I positioned myself right in front of her, and I feel sorry for Mika Soderstrom's parents, because ears are probably ringing still from me calling out. I didn't have to give too. Yeah, that's what I was most nervous about for the World Championships was, right, you've seen what Kate can do in the SRCs, but that's with me next to her telling what to do. And she's worked on it a lot because of the World Championships, with me not being able to be next to her racing nous and tactics and that. And with Kate coming from outside of the cycling background, and she's not really had, and yeah, she's not really, don't want to be and I'll probably get hit after this, but she's not really a thinker in terms of tactical stuff, and I think she's so strong that she doesn't need to as much. And like even when I watch Michael Vink in that race, and it's just there's not really in this SRC, and that the tactics is just go, 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 go. Whereas guys like myself need to, not that I race their level, but need to be really smart about what we're doing, because our match box of matches is a lot smaller. So I've learnt to be quite crafty in that sense. So I was very stressed out about and most nervous about if there were a few curveballs thrown at Kate at the World Champs. However, in the end, I gave her a few signals about when to go hard and when to back off and all that. And I was most impressed with her in that last stage, how she just, in stage 2, she just kept it pretty much textbook. She was in complete control and she looked stress-free. Yeah, she looked like she was actually enjoying herself, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable seeing it as well. But there was a funny moment on stage 1. We had planned to try win it, because there has been a bit of chat, and it's only natural that people but still not 100% convinced that what Kate's doing is real. Because Worlds last year was only a 5-minute climb, so you can't really show everything you've got. I think Kate's real strength comes out on this longer climb. Kate had a point to prove there again, and then when I gave her a signal to keep the gas on, and then you could see them stretching out, and I gave her the signal to attack, and then she stretched them out, and then I gave her the signal to back off once she had a decent gap, back off the power, and then the plan was once the last rider, the second last rider was caught, and she was the only one out there. The plan was to back it off and get caught by the chaser bot so that she has recovery for the next stage. So statement made, okay, you've done that, back it off. So I give her the signal, and she's like, looks at me, gives me a funny look, because there's pretty bright lights in there, and I give her the, go easier. And then when I did it the second time, she thought I meant stop pedaling, so she sits down, and then she's still quite far ahead of this chaser bot, and I'm like, whoa, and so I actually stand up, and I'm like, no, and I was saying 5 watts per kilo, and then you actually see it in the live stream too, 5 watts per kilo, and then she goes back, but then she rode 6 watts per kilo, so that's but yeah, she certainly, I think she's having fun at that stage, and that was definitely quite cool to see. But the plan was to just make her statement, get the little point. We were only thinking maybe 10 points max kind of thing. And then, so it's quite funny if you watch her sit down and then stand back up. That was the idea behind it anyway, if you're wondering what the heck was that about. But she was certainly in the zone and enjoying herself in that moment anyway.
Yeah, no, we definitely want to hear about that. But I just want to, you say that you wanted Kate to go easy, and then you say 5 watts per kilo was easy. And I just kind of like just laugh. All right, okay,
easier. I think Kate and Gabby and Francesca, that 5 watts a kilo for them is going pretty solid, but it's not. That's just their threshold kind of thing, So so still taking the points over, but not redlining yourself too much was the goal.
Well, Kate, I have to say, week in, week out, every Sunday, one of the things I love about watching you race Sunday Race Club is that it doesn't matter what gap you've got, whether it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, you do not stop. You work so hard until you get over the line. And you did exactly the same at the World Championships. It was just fantastic to watch. And I really would love to hear from you about how those 3 races played out for you, because you finished first on stage 1, you finished first on stage 2, and you finished first on stage 3. It was just phenomenal. You appeared really poised. You looked so in control on the outside when we were watching you on the broadcast. But what was going through your head through those stages? Talk us through each one from your perspective.
Yeah, so I guess the first stage, like Dylan said, definitely wanted to use that stage as a bit of a statement to show what I'm capable of, and what I've been doing is really what I've been doing in the weekly races on SRC. So that's, I think once we started and we must have got to around 8%, and I just thought, I felt like I was on for a good day. Like I knew I had the legs when we got to around that stage, because I felt fully in control, and I was feeling really good, and I was able to, I think once I sort of realised that the other girls were starting to hurt quite a bit, and I was still feeling good, and I was able to look for Dylan and take instruction from him, aside from the wee mistake when I thought he said to sit up. But I knew that stage gave me huge confidence in the stages going forward. And then I was a little nervous about the second stage, and that first sprint. I wasn't sure how that was going to play out, because in the semi-finals I made a bit of a mistake there and eased up when I shouldn't have, and so I wanted to get that right that second time round, and I knew a lot of the girls would be hunting for the points come that first sprint, because the next 3 points were quite hard to get top points for some of the girls. So yeah, no, that second stage, and I think probably to Mika Soderstrom in the semi-finals, she attacked full gas into the point at the end of those rollers, and it probably worked out worse for her in that all of us girls were anticipating that come the finals, so we all knew that could potentially where things were going to blow up. So I think coming into the bottom of that, I knew I had to have power on and to go, and I probably hit out a little too hard because I got a gap quite quickly, which surprised me. And then it was just about getting over that point and recovering. And I figured I looked for Dylan once I got to the top of that roller as to whether I push on if the gap was big enough, because it was quite hard to see from obviously where I was. And in my screen, I couldn't see what the rest of the field, if they were all together or what.
Just in there, I'm looking at the big broadcast screen. I can see the head on, so the camera view looking back at Kate, and that's just a mess. So it was a mess. So yeah, so I can see that. So I gave her the signal to press on, and then I guess a bit of an advantage, having eyes from a different angle. So
yeah, obviously looked for Dylan to whether I can press on or whether I sit up and get that recovery in, and he gave me the little like motor signal to keep going, keep pressing on, so I did, and yeah, was able to get those points. I was suffering up that 3-minute climb though. That hurt, but yeah, I was really happy to get all those points there. And then the last stage, I think for me, was just about consistently getting points. So it wasn't about winning all the sprints, it was just consistently getting top 5 sort of across the line each lap through. I think I won maybe one of the sprints throughout the 8 laps. Dylan did give me a bit of a signal to attack and come the final 2 laps, and I shook my head at him. I was like, absolutely not. This is not happening. The legs are gone. I'm just going to secure this. I don't want anything to go wrong, because I did actually get a little bit of cramp in my inner thigh in the first 2 laps, and I could feel that sort of twinging a little bit. So I was lucky in that come the 3rd lap on the downhill, I was able to give it a little bit of a awkward stretch to try and shake that out. So yeah, I just wanted to play it safe and run it home with the points.
Kate, I am going to ask you the question. Was there ever a point on Saturday where you had any doubt that you were going to take away that World Championship title and do the double?
Honestly, no.
You could be honest.
I think once I had that first stage under the belt and I got, like Gabby's an incredible athlete, but to get that kind of a gap over her, I was hoping for 30 seconds, and to get what I got just sort of really cemented that for me, that like it was mine to lose on the day. So yeah, I think, once I had that sort of a gap going into stage 2, I guess I was full of confidence for that second stage, and that probably helped hugely for the rest of the stages. But yeah, I think that first stage, once I got over sort of a minute, I was like, well, yeah, I think we're on for a good day today. This is mine. Yeah.
Now, previously, Dylan, you were just mentioning before Ablock International and the riders that you race with on the Sunday Race Club. You know, it's a really, really strong squad. In fact, every single member of that team was with you on the stage at the World Championships, which is just superb. And I am going to run through, because Kristen Kolczynski, your teammate on Ablock International, took 6th place at the World Championships. Maria Holdcroft and Lisa Hermansen, again, both on Ablock International, actually tied on points and finished in 8th and 9th. And then Mika Soderstrom took 15th. So it was just amazing. You were all there. How did that feel about having your entire team that you race with month in, month out on that stage with you at the World Championships? Was it a help having them there, or was it a competitive environment until the World Championships was over?
No, it was brilliant. It was so cool to have those girls there. They've become like friends, basically. Like they are friends, and it was so cool to arrive there. And this time round, obviously last year, you didn't really know too many people and things, whereas this year you felt like you were just catching up with old friends, which was really cool, and they're all so supportive. And yeah, I'm so very, very lucky to have those girls as teammates, and like we've got a good group chat going, and Dylan's in there, and Kristen's coach and Josh is in there, and so is Maria's partner as well, Tim. He's in the group chat as well, so it's just constant messages all the time, even when we're not racing, stuff about nothing to do with racing. I know Dylan and
I think
Kristen
Tim and I probably need to dial it back a little bit.
I've met him. He's lovely.
Yeah.
He is awesome.
But yeah, no, so it was brilliant to have them there, and they're all really awesome girls.
I want to put in a special mention to, like you said, like all the girls and Lisa, Kristen, amazing rides as well. But I feel like they'll be on a bit of a high about the racing. But I want to mention both Mika and Maria. I think Mika's, I had a chat with her after the race and she's obviously not happy with the end result, but I was super proud of her for her really taking the bull by the horns and giving it a good old crack on stage 2. Like, she could have sat in the group and waited for that flat sprint. But she, like Kate said, she's actually probably the reason. I said this to her: you're the reason why the race blew to pieces, and it's not from what she did in the day; it's because of what she did in the semis. And she gave it a real good crack to go with Kate and Gabby through the roller sprint, and she certainly left it all out there. So I think, and she's only young in that, so she's only going to get stronger. So definitely a big credit for her attitude and giving it a go. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but Maria actually, I don't want to take anything away from any of the medalists, but I feel as though she would have been right in the mix if she hadn't got cramp in the sprints. You could see something go wrong. So talking to her afterwards, her and Tim there, they said that she cramped up in the sprints, and you can actually see it. She got second in a couple of the sprints right before it. And I actually, Kate, you're asking Kate about the friendship and because we do talk a lot. I did stop, because normally you give them pointers and all this stuff. I did kind of back off that from the semi-finals about Worlds, right? They are such good riders that I don't want to be giving them too many tips and that. And certainly, as you've seen in the SRC how good Maria is, I think she would have been right at that pointy end. I think she would have made up a lot of points in that sprint stage. We certainly, I was joking with Tim, her partner, about this yesterday. I'm always a little bit careful with how much advice I give Maria in these big races. So all joking aside, I really feel sorry for her, and I've been there before, and I think we have not seen the last of her top result. She's going to be back better than ever. So, I just wanted to say that.
I have one other question about the night for you, Kate, because there was a real battle going on behind you for those medals. Camilla Ahlberg, Francesca Tomasi. It went to 1 point on the final sprint of stage 3, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Stage 3 behind you, that race. How aware of you, or were you aware at all about what was going on behind you for the medals? Or were you just so focused on delivering the job and executing the race that it really wasn't on your radar?
No, it wasn't on my radar, honestly. I watched a bit of it afterwards and I thought it was brilliant the way those two girls raced. They were incredible. But, in all honesty, Dylan laughed and he's like, how did you not realise? And I was like, in all honesty, I was looking at where's Gabby's points at. Okay, we're good. And that was my race. But to see what those girls did afterwards, because, Francesca in that last lap, for her to go like that was, it took some guts and some good legs. So, she was brilliant on the day. And I think her and Camilla's improvement throughout this year has been wicked to see. And it's cool that these girls are coming up and starting to really challenge everyone. Francesca, she's learning the game now as well. Like, she's always had the ability to be there, but she's now locked in and she's learning the game really well. So, I think she's going to be one to really keep my eyes on in the next few months going forward.
The future is certainly very bright there. You mentioned wanting to make a statement, and I guess that's the nature of the sport. And Dylan, in addition to being Kate's coach, you also have the unfortunate role of you and other members of your family, I should say, of playing the role of defending not only Kate's athletic integrity, but also the sport as well. We've seen other racers publicly call Kate a doper. Every day we hear people mock cycling esports as not real cycling. You're a world champion and an Olympian on the track. No one can accuse you with a straight face of not being a real cyclist. You have the perspective as someone close to cycling esports and also have the nuance. What do you say to people who punch down on cycling esports?
I was just laughing with Kate earlier about some of the ridiculous comments on, I think there's a video of Kate and Jason getting their rainbow jerseys, and they said, actually the comment was the fall of Western civilization, giving these riders rainbow jerseys, which is crazy. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but back when I was racing, I actually got it here. We plug for myself. No, but if you see this jersey here, so the track one's got the curve to signify that it's on the velodrome. Now all the rainbow jerseys are just straight stripes, which is what the road race champion used to always have. The only cycling event I can think of that has a pattern to signify that it's not anything to do with that, is anything to do with the road, is the esports title. So Kate's one's got the pixelated, which I think is a really cool design, by the way. So they've gone the extra step to, I feel as though, to try and keep these people happier that, that's definitely can't be confused with the road world champion. But every other event's allowed the normal stripe. Utterly ridiculous, like having to go at these riders for it not being real cycling. I mean, Have you been to a local club race on the road these days? All everyone talks about is their watts. Even if you got 20th place, it's all about, I did this many watts. Well, you've got a sport now that it's all off your watts. So you'd think that they would be happy about that, a sport where they can talk about their watts. Because I've won a lot of bike races with doing the opposite, trying to keep my watts as low as possible. So I can feel better at the end of the race. So yeah, it is a funny one, and I don't think it's something that's ever really going to go away with people criticizing it. And the other thing about, I think a lot of people see these numbers and think it's not possible and it's all a farce and that. I'll put my hand up when I first got on different racing online and that different platforms. Me being a top level track rider, you're kind of like looking at these top guys' numbers going, how the heck are they doing this? And then you actually look into it and you see what they're doing day in, day out. And now the big thing is being able to settle with the low cadence. I've tried it myself, and even at, I'd say probably 70% of the fitness I was at when I was racing professionally on the velodrome, I'm doing more for 20 minutes now than what I was doing back then, just staying out of the saddle. So I've learned, there's no, and then you look at all the verification, obviously Hayden Puckers are probably the biggest one under fire because he can do 500 watts for an hour. But to the normal person looking in without doing much research, it does look a bit dodgy because you think, how is that possible? But then you see it, and he's doing it on these verified platforms. So unless there's some huge conspiracy, everyone running all of esports across all these platforms are involved in, you're starting to look a bit loony if you start going down that route. But the way that these riders should be looking at it is a compliment. And that's why I've said to Kate too, well, it's a good thing. If someone's accusing you of cheating because you're high power and you're not, that's a good thing. But it does get a bit, certainly Kate's had a lot of stress by it, and at the end of the day, you're risking your own result at Worlds because you're going out there to try prove a point, going harder than you want to. That's a negative side of it, But yeah, certainly on Kate's rough days, when I mute my mic during her racing so her teammates can't hear me, start mentioning that stuff to her when she's tired, and you can see her keep pushing through, definitely drives her. So I'm sure that it's the same with the men and the other girls that have that. And I think another thing as well is look at the likes of Vink and Jason, were pros on the road, and Kate rubbing shoulders with our top women like Nee Fisher-Black this year. Kate finished right behind on this climate at New Zealand Championships earlier in the year. She just got second in the road race at the World Championship. So it all legitimizes it.
Kate, I don't know whether you want to answer this or Dylan. Is there anything that you think Cycling Esports could do or needs to do to sort of shift its public image in terms of, stamping that respect? I loved, I have to say, what Tadej was saying about actually, he was at the World Championships last year, he was at the Cycling Esports World Championships again this year, and this year he was really talking about the specificity of the differences between what he was witnessing about how the riders were riding the esports worlds versus how he rides his own turbo, whether to warm up or to train, and the fact it's just completely different. And one of the things when he was saying that, I was thinking, do you know what, if he's seeing that, other people are surely seeing that as well. Is there anything you think Cycling Esports could do or needs to do to shift perceptions, or do you just think it's an evolutionary thing that will happen?
I don't know, it's a hard one. I think the sport's still got a way to go in that with the racings and the different platforms. At the moment, with Zwift stepping out of the elite racing, it leaves everything down to just my whoosh. And I think I'd like to hope that we eventually start to get a few more UC standardized races through in the next few years. And I think that'll help. I think obviously, we're only tested for banned substances and stuff at the World Championships, and that's once a year. So I think bringing in some more UCI standardized races to then also do that side of things as well, and where the verification goes, it was great. I think during the championships, I did an extra protocol for verification, more so than just your standard, you do your weigh-in and all that, but also I filmed my equipment and showed all of that side of thing, that sort of stuff. And I think, as long as that stuff keeps coming through and we're doing all of that, I don't know where it can really step up from there, because I think what my whoosh does week in, week out with all of us is great. And the fact that we have 2 sets of power meters and that it has to be certain standardized trainers and stuff. And whether we step forward into everyone's on the same, we get standardized pedals and that we can't tamper with them and things like that would be great going forward. But I think that's probably a way in the future. But I'm not too sure what else we can do.
You must admit though, the World Championships just been, there was no surprises. The pecking order was pretty similar to what it's been. So across the men's and the women's, I think that was a awesome thing too. I'm sure that the guys running these races will be like, everything's looking pretty good, really. I feel as though they're doing a pretty good job, really. Yeah, I think from where esports first started, like back when we were first racing, and I honestly said to Kate when she first said she was going to do this, I said, what a waste of time. That's what I said to her, because I had the mindset of what it used to be like when I'm doing just the average Swift race, and you're just getting destroyed. Apparently a lot of men that weigh, a lot of 50-year-old men that weigh 40 kilo, apparently. Obviously how wrong was, so I think they do a really good job of it. I think the biggest problem in the SRC, in my wish, is the sandbagging, and I think if that's your biggest problem, you're in a pretty good spot, really, in that, like Kate was saying, they're only going to get better with this stuff too.
So Kate, just getting back to the doping point, were you tested in Abu Dhabi? You were, because I don't know if you read the article in Domestique, but Jason Osborne, your rainbow stripe defending counterpart, was very vocal about the need to legitimize cycling esports by having year-round doping controls. Is that something that you would advocate for also?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's only going to help legitimize everything we're doing. So yeah, I think it's something that hopefully will happen in the future. I think, it was good that obviously in the weeks leading up to the championship, to the world champs, that we were on the whereabouts program and stuff. So yeah, I think it's something that hopefully will happen in the future.
So another advancement is the hydration and weigh-in protocol this year. How did that go, the nuts and bolts of that? And do you think that also goes a step forward for legitimizing the sport?
Yeah, I think it all really well on the day. I think obviously it was a bit difficult in that there was so many athletes to go through the hydration process, that there was the 4-hour window, and obviously it's the first time we've done it. So I think protocol worked for the day that we were there. But I think the way SRC does it week in, week out, 50 minutes before the race, you weigh in, I think is probably, in my eyes, the best protocol, just because if an athlete chooses to dehydrate themselves, it's only to their detriment, because it's 50 minutes out from racing. So there's no way you can, if you choose to sweat to a large extent, I don't think it's only going to harm your performance in the race coming up, because it's 50 minutes out. But obviously it's hard, World Championships and the organisation of all of it. But yeah, the process itself on the day went pretty smoothly. I think, as far as I'm aware, all the girls were totally fine with it. But yeah, it's a hard one, because I think there were athletes there that are so new to the sport as well, that their understanding of what was hydrated and what wasn't was lacking. And like all athletes are probably always to some extent in a little bit of a dehydrated state, because we train so much, especially with the indoor cycling. Like, I imagine if you had tested all of us post-event, we all would have been very dehydrated, because the heat in there was pretty decent. It's a hard one. I think it's cool that they're trying different things, but yeah, I don't know whether
I've
the
probably
hydration
got stronger
is the
feelings
best.
than Kate.
Yeah.
I know you're very vocal, Chris, about it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, the whole sweating thing. I think, like Kate said, especially I think SRC's got it pretty bang on. I think if you sweat before a 50-minute weigh-in window, you are going to suffer. And I know the idea of it's looking at rider well-being and that, and the sport cycling's got a history of riders abusing their own well-being. But I feel like weight is such a big part of cycling, and pretty much all forms of it, that it's always going to be a factor on a platform where you literally, half of the factor is your weight and the other half is your power. Yeah, I feel as though SRC has it really good. I feel like the 4-hour window, you could get away with it if you wanted to go real hard, and then if you pass the hydration test, you've got a big window to rehydrate and get away with it a bit more. Probably a bit much stressing about that side of things. Yeah, I know, like last year, one of the riders lost 7 or 8 kilo in 2 weeks leading up to the championships, which is not a great thing to be sing and dance about. But at the end of the day, my opinion is, like, while looks shocking, it's also amazing feat of being able to, because that rider still held their power. And yeah, they took a risk, and no, they didn't collapse. So yeah, like, it's up to them what they want to do, and how far they're willing to go with it. I think it's certainly good that they're looking into it, though. I was joking, saying that if someone collapses, then they can get a suspension or something like that. But maybe to combat it, I think the closer to the start time, the better. And I know there's a lot of people very strongly against it. They think the further the better. But I just think it's going to end up being like combat sports, where those fighters jumping in the ring, they are nowhere near the weight they weighed in at. They're so much heavier. And I think cycling at the moment, the esports cycling it's a lot closer, to their real weights when they get in. But she'll jump on our scales at home and she'll be like, oh, 54.1, and then I'll just say to her, I'll just do another 5 minutes. So that way you get to the next kilo. And I wouldn't allow Kate to do it, as if she gets on and she goes, oh, I'm 54.1. Oh, if I do another 40 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever, oh yeah, I'll get down to 52. Like that's when and that's up to the riders. I think if the UCI, I feel as they might be taking too much control of it. They start getting too carried away. Like I've heard talks about them maybe even doing spot weigh-ins and that, like similar to the drug testing where they are random weigh-in or whatever. Well, I think they're talking about maybe even giving you a heads up, hey, we're going to do it 8 hours or whatever. But yeah, no, I feel as though it's starting to get a bit too controlling. No, I just don't think the problem's that bad. Looking at everyone's weights from the Worlds, it was pretty close to what they've been. Minor ups and downs, and even with that 4 hour window, I think it's just relax, just let it do its thing. It's all good at the moment. People would also say, oh, you're saying that because Kate's winning, so maybe I'm not best voice for it, but that's how I feel. I think SRC's got it pretty perfect. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. Just a couple of things to the points that you made. I am vocal about it, and you probably heard the spot testing from something that I said in the past. But that policy was actually designed after the NCAA wrestling policy that we use here in the United States, because a number of years ago, 3 perfectly healthy athletes died in the span of a month for excessive dehydration. I know that we can say it would be something that some collapsed on the stage, but it has happened. People have died. So there is a risk there. The other thing is that I think in an ideal world, the esports coordinator would want the weigh-in policy to be the way it is in the SRC. But there's also an education process that needs to go on within the UCI itself. The UCI's medical director comes from a combat sport background where you have to just make weight for a category. I think that eventually it will evolve to that. I think a lot of people want that also.
I forgot to mention that about SRC. This is probably the most important thing. And I really like what they've introduced, the 1 kilo difference thing. Mm-hmm. I feel as though it should roll over to Worlds. And at the end of the day, like with Kate and I, we've got no problem with them trialing different things and seeing how it goes and that. So I think it's a good thing that they're thinking about it. Overall, I think it's good to be looking into it and acting on it and trialing different things. And I think that's what the UCI are doing, which is good.
So I'm going to change tacks just a little bit now. Kate, we've talked a lot about cycling esports as well as your road racing as well. So if cycling esports didn't exist, you didn't have the potential to race at an elite level, balancing work and family with that offer of prize money and all wrapped in together in the convenience of your own home. For most of the year, would you have moved forward in cycling or would you be doing something different?
For me, I would probably just be working full-time and probably cycling for fun at this point now. I went over to Europe, I think it was 2020, and that definitely went far from plan. I think I am a bit of a homebody, to be fair. I like being at home and that sort of thing. So, and being in New Zealand, it's not the easiest of things to get to Europe. So, I think if I hadn't have found cycling esports, I'd be riding for fun. Maybe I'd still be trying to have a go at our national champs, but with the level these girls coming from World Tour are at, if I was working full time, I probably wouldn't even have much of a shot at trying to compete for the national title. But I'm very, very, very fortunate that cycling esports is in the space it's in and the timing of me finding it when I did. So I'd probably just be working.
Do you ever think back to that road race, the national championship road race earlier on in the year and think, Niamh Fisher-Black, she animated those stages in the mountains of the Tour. I was just a stone's throw away from her at the top of the finishing climb during that New Zealand road race. Do you ever think, what if?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, Niamh is an incredible athlete. The closest I probably ever got to really winning the national title was a few years back, and I think I was solo for 75k on my own.
Oh, the sprinter!
Yeah, I was very, very green to the sport at the time and to nutrition and stuff, and I was solo for about 75 kilometres of the race, and Niamh was in a chasing bunch behind, and I didn't take any fuel on board. I think I bonked pretty bad in that last 10 Ks.
I gave Kate instructions. I said, you're going to have 2 bottles with gels taped to them that her dad and her uncle were handing out through the town that we were finishing in. And she's on there's 2 10-kilometre circuits she had to complete, and because they didn't know who she was, she got out to a 2-minute lead on her own, and she had 2 minutes and 20k to go, and I said, hey, if this scenario plays out, it's crazy. I've almost picked the exact scenario. I said, if this happens, I said, you carry on normal speed, try grab the first bottle. If you miss that first bottle, I said you need to slow right down. I said, and if you miss the second one, you need to stop and go back and get it. I said, it's so important to eat and drink. And yeah, she missed the first one, carried on, missed the second one, and then she got caught with about 800 meters to go.
Yeah, Neve and the girls caught me with less than a K to go. And she beat me to the line. I think I finished 5th.
And then another time,
she's always on my radar.
Another year, Kate got second to Georgia Williams, one of our top riders that we've ever had. And I picked the exact scenario again, just lucky. I said that you might be in a breakaway with Georgia, and we were riding the course, and I said, at this point here, there was an intersection. I said, at this point here, if you're off the front with Georgia, you just say, no, I am not lapping. No, I'm too tired to lap. And it was about 1.5 kilometers from the finish line. Anyway, in the race, sure enough, she's away with Georgia, and they get around that last corner, or that one of the last corners in that exact point. And guess what Georgia said to Kate? Kate said, I'll do one more turn. And then Georgia said to Kate, no, I'm not lapping. So then Kate, being Kate, rides it in hard tempo to the finish, and then Georgia sprints her. I'm not saying Kate would have beaten Georgia, but that's the stuff that we're talking about earlier with her being pretty green to it all. And when you look back over different esport riders' results and think, why aren't they doing as well as they should be on the road? There's a great example, those two.
Shall I give you my take on it, Dylan? My take is it was a phenomenal learning experience, Kate, and it's made you double world champion.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a good example of why, and that's not even talking about bike handling skills yet, why a lot of these esport riders don't go great on the road sometimes is because, I got fit enough to do a club race with Kate recently. She races A grade with the men here in the Waikato, New Zealand, and like quite a high level. There's a lot of good riders, and you can guarantee if the wind's blowing from right to left, Kate will be on the right side of the bunch into the wind. And I'm like, Kate, get in. And she's, I'm not sure if it's being a bit scared, if she feels like she's being a bit rude, because she's like that as well. Like, I don't want to push into that wheel because there's a guy there and I don't want to inconvenience him, whatever. So yeah, actually you end up riding like a meathead on the road, and it actually ends up, the only positive, it ends up making you stronger when you do your indoor stuff too. So there's a lot of things that people don't really take into account when they just look at the amazing results on the indoors. Kate's a perfect example of a lot of that stuff, but she's improved heaps too, so we've done a lot of work on that in the real life, and that's why she's starting to foot it with them.
Even on the road, when you see a lot of the junior women step up on the road, because I don't know about in New Zealand, but in the UK, the junior women go straight in with the elite women. There's no very little junior women's racing as opposed to junior men's racing. They go straight in. And the number of junior riders who that transition, the faster downhills, the faster corners, the bigger packs, they're not used to it. And actually, we lose a lot of riders in the UK, female riders specifically, because of the transition from junior straight into elite racing. No under 23 separate category at all either. And that plays a massive role, I think, not just in different disciplines and transitioning between disciplines, but even transitioning in the same discipline, I think it can be a really big challenge. And I think it'll be a debate about how you deal with those things going forward. And whether you want to. I mean, let's ask the question, shall we, Kate? Do you have aspirations outside of cycling esports?
Yeah, definitely. I think cycling esports is definitely the priority for me, but and it's something I want to stick to and advocate for more women and things to get into. But no, I definitely am still, since I started, I've wanted that national title, so I'm still going to fight for that. And I think that's in February next year. And then if I got the opportunity to be a stagiaire and have a go at some elite level racing with the women and stuff, I would absolutely jump at the opportunity. I think it's a cool way to show that we're capable both indoors and outdoors, and that the power we're doing is real and things like that. So yeah, no, if the opportunity came up, I'd love to have a go racing with some teams. But no, I'm very happy also racing the esports as well.
Wow, there we go. I was going to say, do we need to ask you about, are you going for a third title in 2026?
I mean, Jason's inspired me, so I'm chasing Jason at the moment. I'm a step behind, but yeah, I'm definitely keen to get back there and have another crack at it for sure.
Dylan, speaking of the future, we always finish the podcast with a big picture question. And I'm going to ask you both one because I've got two of you, so why not? Being the ad hoc advocate of cycling esports that you've become, Dylan, we think it's fitting to ask you, where do you see cycling esports in the next few years? And what do you think needs to be done to get it to where you would like it to be?
Yeah, that's a question, because I honestly think the way the Olympics are going, that it's going to end up there. whether people like it or not, I think it will. And I think once it gets to that level, you'll start seeing the different federations go, oh, we need to really support this. And I think the way that the Olympics are going with the modernising and stuff, but they're playing around with the different sports. And I think eventually it will end up there, especially the way the world's going with the technology and all that stuff. And another thing about growing it is I think, and certainly for like SRC and stuff, I feel like the riders need to, I know it's not their jobs to promote it, but I feel like the riders are a little bit, and they're probably not going to like me saying this, a little bit happy for it to remain a bit of a little secret, because human nature, there's only 10 prize money spots, and, people don't want more people joining because of that. But I feel like any sport, it's only healthy if it keeps growing, right? And it gets bigger. So the more people that can get involved, and the more, especially like bigger names and that getting involved too. Like, how great was it having Pogacar and Sagan there promoting it? Only has to help. The more people can tell about it, get on the platform for SRC, and the more, I guess, platforms that can get behind the elite level racing, the better. And I think it will end up at the Olympics one day. That's what I reckon.
Kate, I'm going to leave the final word for you. What does it mean to be two-time UCI Cycling Esports World Champion?
Honestly, like I think I even said it when I was asked at Worlds, I'm still sort of letting it sink in. I joked with Dylan and gave him a bit of a nudge the other day, and I said, look, he's got 2 of these now. Because he has from the track, but it's huge. I'm so happy that I was able to pull it off, and to do it with Dylan there. And my dad and my uncle was just like, it was such a special moment to be able to give them a hug afterwards. But yeah, I'm still sort of letting it sink in. Yes, it was a funny thing. Like I said to Dylan after the race, that it was almost like deja vu being on the stage there. I said everything that I had been envisioning for the weeks leading up to the Worlds happened on the day almost to the exact way I wanted it to. And so that, still letting that sort of sink in and wrapping my head around that I did it, and I did it in the way I wanted to do it. I haven't really thought much further past that. Like I said to Dylan, like, I'm not going to race this weekend and just take a bit of time to relax and things, because it was a big build up. It's huge for me. I'm so happy that I was able to pull it off a second time. I think I hopefully made Dylan and my family and stuff proud of the fact that I was able to pull it all together.
Well, I'm going to finish the show like we did. I'm going to say congratulations, Kate. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Well, you can subscribe to the Virtual Velo Podcast on your favourite podcast provider, and of course on YouTube. You can follow me, Emma Martin, on Instagram at biking_Emma, and Chris at the Zamunique. And of course, you can find Kate McCarthy there as well. You can catch me putting words to the action this weekend on the My Wish Sunday Race Club, and head over to thezamunique.com and please become a member of the Escape Collective to join the conversation and support independent cycling esports journalism. We will indeed have more interesting guests from the world of cycling esports joining us. Chris and I are excited to see who will be here next. Thank you to the World Championship team of Kate McCarthy and Dylan Kennett for joining us, and of course to our listeners for joining us as well. Chris will remind you to please take care of your heart, get a coronary calcium scan should you even have an inkling that you need one. Me, as ever, I'm going to tell you to stay safe, enjoy your riding. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.